Yeah, join from hall also.
Okay. Yeah, hi guys, good morning. And in today's session, we'll discuss about S3. So S3 is one of the storage service which is available in AWS. Okay. So what are the benefits of S3? How can we use S3? How can we host one static website in S3? What is versioning? What are different lifecycle rules available in S3? What is ACL? So we'll try to discuss all these things. Okay. So first, let me share my screen. My screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we have one service called S3. So what's the full form for S3?
Simple search service.
Simple storage service. Okay. So in S3, we can store our objects. Okay. So S3 is used to store fixed objects. Guys, go on mute. Okay. So what do you mean by fixed objects? S3 is used to store fixed objects. So what do you mean by fixed objects?
Completed item. Something which is completed.
When we say fixed objects, right? I mean object in the sense it can be any file, PDF file, Word file, or any document, any image, anything. It can be any log file, it can be PEM keys, whatever you want to upload, we can store in S3. Now, when we say fixed, right, means in S3, whatever you have uploaded in S3, if you want to make any changes, then you cannot do it. We cannot make any changes in the S3 service once you have uploaded the object. So what we need to do? We need to go to the service, we need to download the object, modify, and then again re-upload the same object. Okay, so in S3 there is no option to edit our files. If you want to make any changes, then you need to download, edit, and re-upload. That's the only thing what we can do. Okay, so S3 service is global. When we say S3 service is global, means it is not regional specific. S3 service is not regional specific, means if suppose if I'll go to my S3 service, see here you can see something called global. A bucket or a survey, I mean any bucket what we have created in S3 that can be accessible in all the regions. So we have two different type of services in AWS. One is regional based or regional specific services. One is global services. If I'll go to EC2, this is regional specific service. Here you can see something called North Virginia, means this EC2 whatever we are trying to create, this is restricted to North Virginia region only. But if I'll go to S3, then it is global specific. This is available across your AWS account. Okay. So S3 service is a global service. So this will be asked in interviews. What are the global services available in AWS? One such example for now is S3. We do have different services, like if suppose if I'll go to IAM. See, this is also global. Means one user we have created in AWS account will be available across your AWS account. So IAM is one global service, S3 is one global service. Okay. So let me go to S3. And in S3, what we do, we try to create buckets. Okay, so if you want to store any data, we need to create one bucket, and always we should make sure that S3 bucket name should be unique across global, means across the world, the name should be very unique. If suppose I have created one bucket called test-iPhone bucket. So this is my bucket name. So you cannot create the bucket with the same name. That is not allowed. Your name should be always unique. across the globe. Means if suppose there are 10 lakh users who are using AWS and there are 10 lakh buckets, means your name should be unique out of the 10 lakh buckets. Okay. And S3 bucket is regional specific. Means whatever buckets we are trying to create in S3, that is regional specific. Means we are going to select in which particular region your bucket should be available. S3 service is global, but the bucket where we are trying to store our objects or data will be regional specific. Okay. Similarly, we have different storages options in AWS. One is EBS, one is S3, one is EFS, one is RDS. So we have 4 different type of storage options available in AWS. Means if you want to store any data, you can use any of these services. EBS. What do you mean by EBS?
Elastic Block Storage.
So where we have used this EBS?
I guess
EC2,
when you
EC2
create
instances.
EC2.
Yeah, means whatever data we have stored from our EC2, for every EC2 we have attached one EBS volume. So whatever files or data we have created in EC2 that are stored in the EBS volume. So without EBS volume, you cannot create one EC2 instance. Okay, so we can attach one EC2 to one EBS volume. Can we attach multiple EBS volumes to one EC2? Is that possible?
Yes.
Yes.
We cannot attach multiple EC2 instances to one EBS volume. That is not possible because EBS volume will only perform read or write operations, right? So it will not allow multiple EC2 to be using the same EBS volume. That is not possible in EBS. You can only attach one EC2 instance to one EBS volume. Can we attach multiple EBS volumes to one EC2 instance?
Yes.
It is possible. Okay, so we can attach multiple EBS volume to one EC2 instance. Guys, note down these points. This will be asked in interviews. Okay. So we can attach multiple EBS volumes to one EC2 instance. Means let me just try to paint this. This is my, sorry. This is my EC2. This is my EBS volume. Okay, my EC2 instance can have at least one EBS volume, or else if you want to add some additional space, then we can also attach one more EBS volume. So we can have multiple EBS volume attached to our EC2 instance. So this is possible, but we cannot attach multiple EC2 instance. Okay, we cannot attach multiple EC2 instance to the same EBS volume. This is not possible. Okay, so we have different storage options. One is EBS, that is elastic block storage. We have already used EBS to store our data related to our EC2 instance. And another example is S3, what we are trying to see now. Okay, used to store fixed objects. Fixed objects in the sense it can be any file, PDF, any document, any video, whatever you want to upload, you can store. So in EBS, what will be our capacity? In EBS,
8 is the minimum capacity.
yes, 8 GB is the minimum capacity. Okay, what we can assign to our EBS. So if suppose I want to create one S3, do we have a specific GB what we need to assign to our S3? Do we need to assign any specific GBs? So in S3, we are not going to support, I mean, we are not fixing that this should be only storing at least 10 GB of data or 20 GB of data. So you can use as per your convenience. There is still a limit. It's around 100 GB. Okay, and if you want to extend it, then still we can communicate with the AWS support and we can try to expand our storage. Okay, and then we have something called EFS. EFS we haven't seen it. So EFS is nothing but Elastic File System. So in EFS, we can attach our EFS to multiple EC2 instances. We can attach multiple EC2 instances to one EFS. Okay, so this was not possible in our EBS, but still in EFS we can write multiple EC2 instance data. That is possible in EFS. Okay, so what will happen is this is a distributed file system. This will be shared across multiple EC2 instances. Okay, and then we have something called RDS. RDS is nothing but relational database service. Okay, so here what we'll do, we can spin up any database service like Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB. So whatever database you want to provision, you can provision and you can try to store your data. RDS will be used by applications to store the data. Means if you have any Facebook kind of application, social media or Instagram, so all your data will be stored in the RDS database service. So this is completely a different topic. We will be having a dedicated session on this. So for now, understand that we have 4 different type of storage options. One is EBS, S3, EFS, and RDS in AWS. Okay. So one second. So in S3, we have seen that S3 name should be unique across global. Okay, so let me just try to create one bucket. Let me go to our S3 service, click on create bucket. Okay, here it is asking AWS region, means you, as I said, your bucket will be regional specific. Your S3 is a global specific, but your bucket is regional specific, means you need to decide in which particular region you want to create your S3 bucket. Okay, and then we have the type of bucket. This is the new option what I'm seeing as of now. Okay, so for now let us go with general purpose, and then we have bucket name. So for example, test iPhone bucket, I'm trying to use the same name. Okay, so my bucket name will be test iPhone bucket. So if you want to copy any existing bucket setting, means already you have created one bucket with different rules and policies, life cycles, then instead of adding all the details again and again, we can just click on choose bucket and select which particular option, I mean which particular rules you want to implement on the same bucket. Okay, in our case, as of now, we don't have any such bucket. Okay, so let me ignore this. And then we have 2 things, that is ACL disabled and ACL enabled. ACL means
Access control list.
ACL means access control list. Okay, so we have access control list. What this will do, this will help you to provide different or provide certain level of access to your objects. So which users can access your bucket? For example, in your AWS account, you have 10 users, and to which specific users this bucket should be accessible. All the object priorities, whether you can read, see, edit, or configure or download these objects can be controlled with the help of ACL. So this is nothing but something as permissions. Okay, so for now I'm using ACL enables. So let me scroll down. And then we have something called block public access, means if you don't want this bucket to be publicly accessible, any user or across the globe, no one can access our bucket. So if you want such kind of options, then you need to block all public access. So let me keep this as of now. And here we have something called bucket versioning. So I am not going to enable this for now. Okay, so let me use the same default option. Scroll down, then we have something called default encryption. So encryptions are very important. Encryptions are very important. So we have one concept called AWS KMS. Okay, we have something called key management service in AWS. So why do we need encryptions? Means whatever data we are trying to store in our S3 bucket should be encrypted. We have two type of encryptions, client side encryptions and server side encryptions. So this KMS is a completely different concept, means it will take a lot of time. So I'm not going to discuss about KMS as of now. We'll have a separate session on KMS. Okay. So for now, let me use the encryption which is been managed by AWS only. Okay. So this service, AWS key management service, this is very important. For now, I'm using the default service which is being provided by AWS. I'm not using my own way to store my keys and manage the encryptions. Okay, and then if I'll scroll down, we have the option to create bucket. So if I'll click on create bucket, what is happening? Nothing happened. I can see if I'll scroll up, I can see bucket with the same name already exists, means someone has created the bucket with the same name. So as we discussed, bucket name should be globally unique. So this is not allowing me to create one bucket. So what I will do, I'll just try to add some number 0509. Okay, let me scroll down and click on create bucket now. This time this name was unique, so my S3 bucket has been created. Here you can see this is in North Virginia region, and if you'll see the access bucket and objects are not public, means your bucket as well as the objects which are available inside the bucket, no one can be able to access these objects. And this is the creation date. Okay, so for example, this is my S3 bucket. This is my S3 bucket, and inside this bucket, what I am trying to do, I am trying to store all my files. For example, this is one passport related, and then I will try to store one more file for app images, means my application related images. I will try to store some files related to my log files. Okay, so all the objects we are trying to store inside our bucket. Here we have how many objects? As per this diagram, how many objects can you see inside this bucket?
Three of
Three
Three
buckets.
objects. We have only
Yeah.
one bucket, but three objects inside our bucket. Okay. So objects are nothing but it can be any files, PEM keys, or PDF, videos, whatever you want. Okay. So now we have successfully created one bucket. Okay. So now let me try to store some objects. Okay. So this is my bucket. If I'll click on this bucket, so here we have different options. Okay, and we have properties, permissions, metrics, management, access points, and all. So out of this is very important for me. ARN. Always remember the ARN number. Always remember the ARN number, means Amazon resource name. So whenever we try to automate anything, right, or if you want to communicate with multiple services at the runtime, then we try to communicate with the help of ARN name only. This will be the unique to my AWS account. So guys, go on mute. So this is my object. So now if I want to upload some object, right, means any file, so we can just select this upload object, click add files, and select what you want to update. Means, for example, I have something, for example, I have one PEM key, right, backup server. So if I want to store this PEM key inside my buckets, I will just select this PEM key, and if I scroll up, we can see the option called upload. Click upload. Done. So once upload is done, then you can find your PEM key which is available or which is stored in our backend, that is S3. This is how we are going to store our objects or our files. For example, if you want to update one more file or upload one more file, so upload, click on upload, add files. This time what I will do, I will just try to update one file. Let me upload this resume. Okay, so if I double click and scroll down, click on upload. Now how many files do we have inside my bucket? We have two different objects. If I click on close, then you can see this is my bucket name, and inside this bucket we have two different objects. Here we can see something called storage class. This is very important for us. This will be asked in interviews. How many type of storage classes are available? But before understanding storage classes, let us see how to access this object. Means what we have discussed, I have said that you cannot edit your objects in our S3, right? Means S3 is used to store fixed objects. So now we have two different files. So for example, I want to modify this server.pem, or if I want to access the server.pem. So how can I access? How can I access? So just click on this object. Then you can see something called object URL, means for every object it has created one URL for you. So if I'll click on this URL, here we can see something called access denied. Why are we not able to access our URL? Sorry, access our PEM key. It should be accessible on the browser, but still I am unable to access.
We have given initial stage public, block the public.
Yeah, so because we have blocked all the objects and the public, I mean, no one can access our objects from our backend. So for now, what I will do, I will just try to make this object, I mean, this specific object as public. Okay, so if I'll click on object actions, and if I'll scroll down here, I can see something called make public using ACL. So let me click this. Let me click on make public. Failed. Why it got failed? Because my S3 is still private. I'm trying to make the objects as public, so this is not allowing me. So let me first go to my S3 bucket, permissions. Here I need to disable this first. Okay, so let me click on edit, uncheck this. So anyone can access my bucket now. Save changes. It is asking for confirmation. Let me confirm. Done. Okay, so now if I'll go to my object, and if I'll select object actions, make public using ACL, make public. So we have successfully updated the permissions for this specific object. Means only one object we have made it as public. So if I'll open this URL, it is trying to download my PEM key, because that's the nature of PEM key. Okay, so let me do one more thing. Let me go to this object, PDF resume, Let me make this public. Now I can see the URL of this object. So this is my object URL. So let me copy and paste. Here you can find the resume. So this is how you can access your objects. And if you want to make any changes, right? So here you don't have any options to make this or edit these options. So what we need to do, you need to download, click here, it will download the resume, then make the changes and upload the object.
So without giving the permission, can we download the file?
Yeah, it will download the file. Yes, you cannot just view the file.
Okay.
Okay, now for example, let me upload one more object. Add files. Okay, here we have something called PM. So this is one JPG file, I mean image. So let me upload this image. Click on upload. Okay, so we have one file here with pm.jpg. If I'll click here and if you want to access this, let me open. Access denied. Why? Because this object, I mean the object whatever we have uploaded, we haven't provided any permissions to this object, means we haven't made this as public. So let me just scroll up, object actions, make public using ACL, click on make public. So now what we have did, we have updated the permissions for this specific object only. So if I'll refresh this now, then you can see the image. Okay, so what is happening here, for every object you need to go, you need to modify the object actions, go to the ACL permissions and make public. For example, if there are 100 objects in your bucket, so what you will do? And you want to make it as public. If there are 100 objects in your bucket and you want to make it as public, so what you will do?
Select all and
Select all
give permission. And give permission.
actions, make public using ACL. So this is one thing what we can do, or else we have something called bucket policy. We have seen IAM policies, right? So similarly, we have bucket policies that we called as ACL, access control list. Here I can define how my object should behave, to whom they should be able to accessible, whether all the objects in my bucket should be public or not. So what I will do, I don't want to modify the changes each and every time. So I want all the objects in my bucket should be public by default. That should be the behavior of my bucket. Okay, so what I will do is I will try to add one bucket policy. So we already have a lot of custom policies, AWS S3 bucket objects public policy. So let me use this policy. So here we have the documentation of AWS. If I'll scroll down, let me read. So here we have a lot of objects, I mean a lot of policies here. You need to read which policy is suitable for your use case. Based upon that you can use. See, here we have one policy which is only trying to read that objects with a specific key and value tags. Means here if you'll see this, we are trying to add the condition that if your bucket object is with a specific tag called production, then only it should be accessible, or else it should not be accessible. And here we are trying to define to which particular account it should be accessible and the name of the user. So we are trying to segregate the access in the ACL. Where is my bucket? Object allow access to. Okay, here we have something. GitHub, I'm giving you a picture person use for the. Okay, so this policy will help us to access our objects. Okay, so let me copy this policy. Let me paste here. From this policy, we need to modify the bucket name. Okay, so this is something I was talking about ARN. So in our case, what is our ARN? Here we have our ARN. So let me copy this ARN. Let me remove this. Okay, and let me try to replace this as well. Okay, and now let me try to update the permissions. Edit and then paste. Okay, so once done, let me try to save. But still I can see bucket and objects are not public, means this policy is not what we were looking for. Okay, let me try. Let me try from documentation only. Bucket policies. Okay, looks like this will work. Okay, and this will be my bucket name. Let me copy. Let me try to update the changes. Okay, click on save changes. Permission still same. Now let me just try to upload one object and see what is happening. So we have one document here, text file. Click on upload. Object has been uploaded successfully. Close, and if I'll click here, let me copy this URL and try to access. This we are unable to read this on browser. Let me upload one more object. This is one PDF file, what I'm trying to upload. Click on upload. Done. If I'll open the object URL, this is my object URL. So let me try to access. Now see, without making any changes to the object permissions, I'm able to read the file. Means whatever policy we have assigned, right? I mean, all the objects to this bucket should be public. That is successfully assigned to the bucket. So now if you'll upload 100 objects or 150 objects or 200 objects, by default, you can access them. Okay. So if suppose you want to delete any particular object, means you have uploaded some objects and you want to delete them, just select this, click on delete. Here you need to enter permanently delete objects. Done. The objects has been successfully deleted. Okay, so this is how we need to create the bucket. We can upload the objects and we can access the objects. So now if you want to add any changes, that is not possible, right? So if you want to add any changes, that is not possible. So let me just try to create one text file. Okay, so name is test hello world. Let me save this. Done. Now if I try to upload this object, desktop test, where is my file name? Test. Okay, so this is my file, and if I'll click on upload, this is successfully done. If you'll access this, copy URL, paste in browser, you will be able to read the content of the file. Now what happening is, I mean, this file has been updated, means I have made some changes to this file. I have made some changes to this file. For example, let me open hello world techie. Okay, I have updated some changes to this file. Now I want to upload the latest version of file to my S3. Okay, I want to upload the latest changes in the file to my S3. So what I will do, I will go to the S3 bucket. I'll click on upload. I'll click on add files, and I will search for the file name, that is test upload. Click on upload. Okay, so we have successfully uploaded the file now. So how many files do we have? We have this text.txt, pm, malti, and then one document and one pemkey. Okay, so if I'll open this test.txt and if I'll copy this URL and paste in browser, we can find hello world techie. So what happened? It has automatically replaced new version of file. Means the moment I have uploaded the file with same content, same name, with different content, it has updated. Now my requirement is to, I should also access old version of file. Means my bucket should have multiple copies of files. It should have previous version as well. It should have latest version as well. Again, I'm trying to make some changes, then it should have that copy as well. But in this case, in our S3 bucket, we don't see any previous copy of file. You can see only one test.txt. There is no previous copy of file. So in order to avoid such kind of cases, or in order to store multiple version of files, we have something called versioning, bucket versioning. So if I'll enable this versioning, what it will do is it will try to store multiple version of files. As of now, this is disabled. That's the reason it is not accepting. So let me just make the changes, edit, enable, and click on save changes. Done. Means all the objects with a similar name or the same object will have multiple version of file. That is possible now. So what I will do, I will just again go to my text file. I'll update some changes. because we have already hello world techie, right? So now let me remove this techie, save this file, and try to upload the latest version of file. Upload, add files, test. Click on save. Now if you see here, we can see test.txt. If I'll open this, we can see object URL. So if I'll try to access this now, we can see hello world. So this is my latest version of file. So where is our previous version now? So our previous version, what was available? Hello world techie was available. So where is my previous version of file now? If you'll go to the same object, here you can see something called version. So if I'll click on version, then you can see two different version of files. One is at 12.16. This is the latest one, current version, that is hello world, and one is 12.13. So if I'll click on this null, then you can see one more object URL. If I'll copy this and paste in browser, access denied. Why? Let me just check or make this public. Okay, let me refresh. Now we can see hello world techie. So this was our previous version of file, and hello world, this is our latest version of files. So if you want to store multiple version of files, then we can enable versioning in S3. Okay, apart from this, we have something called storage classes. This is very important. This will be asked in interviews for sure. Whenever they'll start asking on S3, right? So they will be expecting what are the different storage classes available in S3. No one is going to ask you how to upload an object, how to delete and all. They will be focusing on storage classes and versioning. Only two things. Okay. And also what was our use case, means why we have used S3 for our project. What was the reason? Why did we use S3?
To store the fixed objects.
To check the log files.
Yeah, right. So what we have did in our previous session, we have stored the VPC flow logs. So where we have stored the VPC flow logs, we have stored the VPC flow logs in S3. So you can always talk about that, means we have used S3 to store VPC flow log. That is one use case. In coming days, we will see multiple use cases for S3. Okay, do not randomly tell that we have uploaded PDF, TXT. This is only as part of understanding how this is working. That's it. But this is not your use case. Our use case is to store VPC flow logs, to use S3 as a remote backends, or to store images related to your applications. So now we have storage class here. So what do you mean by storage class? How many type of storage classes are available? If I'll go to properties and if I'll scroll down, this is for object. Let me go to permissions. Management. Okay, so in management we have something called life cycle rules. Replication rules are also there. Replication is to, if you want to copy the same content, means you have one bucket called test bucket 0509 and you want to have one more backup, I mean one more bucket. For example, so we have one bucket 1, and you don't want to lose this data, means you are worried, you have enabled versioning, you have did all the possible things, but still you are worried that if this bucket might get deleted, then you are going to lose your data. So what you will do, you will create, guys, someone go mute, bucket 2. So you have created one more bucket. So we have created one more bucket. So now, for example, if I have uploaded one file, called memkey, okay, there is one file in my bucket 1, so it should automatically copy this data in my bucket 2. All the data, whatever I'm trying to copy in my bucket 1, should be automatically copied to the bucket 2, which is in another region. One is in North Virginia, this can be North Virginia or Ohio. So my bucket 2 should always copy the files automatically, means you are not going to upload the files in bucket 2. You are going to upload in bucket 1, and your bucket 2 should automatically fetch all the files. That we call as cross-region replications. Cross-region replication is very important in terms of backup, means if you want to have same copy of your bucket, if you want to take backup of your bucket. Okay, so how this will work, we'll figure it out. But for now, let us focus on life cycle rules. So we have something called life cycle rules or storage classes. Both are same. So how many type of storage classes are available? If I'll click on create life cycle rule. Okay, so these are the different storage classes available. Standard, infrequent access, means the default one is storage class in S3, means whatever object you are trying to store, that will have different classes. The default one is standard, means any object which you are trying to upload in S3 will be in standard storage class only. That's the default behavior. Okay, and then after standard we have standard IA. IA means infrequent access. When I have started using S3, right, so we have around 5 storage classes. Nowadays they have added lot of storage classes options, and then we have something called intelligent tiering, and then we have one zone IA, then we have Glacier instant retrieval, Glacier flexible retrieval, we have Glacier deep archive. So we have different type of storage classes. So whenever asked in interviews, always tell them that you have standard infrequent access, then Glacier deep archive. So no need to mention all the 7 or 8 storage classes. You should be at least good with 3 or 4. That is more than enough. Okay, so standard infrequent access, Glacier deep archive. Now, what is the difference between, I mean, why do we have these many classes for one object? Why do we have these many classes, I mean, these many storage classes for one object? What is the use of this? The use is in terms of billing as well. There is a difference in terms of pricing. For example, your object is in standard class. Okay, the billing will be, for example, $1. This is just an example, not the accurate billing. Okay, check the documentation for the billing. Okay, so $1 per month, or else assume that $10 per month. And then we have standard infrequent access. Here the billing will be kind of $8 per month. Okay, and then we have Glacier. It can be $2 per month. Same object, Now this can be $1 per month. This is just an example. Okay, so there will be difference in terms of billing for your objects. If there is a difference in terms of billing, there might be difference in terms of performance as well, right? If there is a difference in terms of billing, then for sure there will be difference in terms of performance. Means, for example, assume that we have YouTube, right? So we have used YouTube. For example, there is a new movie which is going to be released. Which is going to be released in next 10-15 days. The moment you open YouTube, what you can see? The moment you open YouTube, there is a new movie which is going to release in next 10-15 days. So what you will see on the screen? You are not searching for that particular movie, but still you will be able to see the trailer or teaser which is in the top 100 list. Yes or no?
Yes.
Means that is easily accessible. That kind of storage class we call as standard. After 1 month, initially it will be in the top 10 list. After 1 month, it might be in the top 100 list. After 1 year, you need to literally search for that specific trailer. Means it is not easily accessible to you. It is still available, but you need to search for the trailer. So same policy will be followed for our S3 objects as well. One more example. For example, if there is a patient in the hospital who is in hospital right now, his treatment is on. So his files will be easily accessible. Once he got the treatment completed, then he will be coming for the regular checkups for 1 year. So that part you can consider as standard infrequent access. Means the file is still available, but it is not much frequently accessible. It is only accessed after 3 months or 4 months. After 1 year, he got cured and he went to his home. Then you need to search for this file. Means, for example, if he came back after 2 years or 3 years, then you will still have the log file, which is not really required for you, but still they will keep the data. So in Glacier or in Deep Archive Glacier, there will be difference in terms of performance. Means you want to store one file which you might use or you might not use, even you are not sure, but you don't want to delete that file. In that case, you can use Glacier or Deep Archive Glacier. If you want to use one object which is frequently accessible, then you can use standard. So this is the difference for different storage classes. And we have lifecycle rules. Means every time, how will you decide one particular object should be moved from standard to standard infrequent access? Who is going to decide that? Means here, while uploading, we haven't seen any option to upload to different class, right? So did we saw any option over there? No. The moment I'm trying to upload, it was trying to directly store in the standard class only. So we have something called lifecycle rules. Okay, so we have something called lifecycle rules. So what I will do is I will just create one lifecycle rule for my bucket. Okay, so here I will decide which particular object should be moved to which particular class or when it should be deleted. For example, you want to delete some particular objects after 100 days. So you are not going to log in after 100 days and delete. So you can configure that in the lifecycle rules. If you want to move one object from one storage class to another storage class, just select this, move current version, means the latest version of objects. So where I want to move to standard infrequent access. You can also see the details here. The minimum days, one object should be in 30 days. After 30 days only, this can be moved to standard infrequent access. And then from standard infrequent access to intelligent terrain, or else, for example, Glacier. See here, if you see Deep Archive Glacier, this can be changed only after 180 days. Means after 180 days of my object. For example, if I have uploaded my object today, then after 180 days, my object will be moved to Deep Archive Glacier. So this is how we are going to create lifecycle rule, and I will try to create one rule. So once this rule is created, what will happen? Prefix. Okay, so once I will create this rule, what will happen? It will automatically make sure that our objects are being moving from one specific life cycle to another life cycle. So it is in standard for now. If you log into my account and check my S3 bucket after 30 days, this will be in from standard to standard infrequent access. After 180 days, you can see the object as Deep Archive Glacier. That's how we are going to move all the objects. Clear?
Sabir,
Yes.
after 180 days, we can see that the class here only or somewhere else.
Here only you can see the change in the class, but you need to wait for 180 days. This I cannot really test as of now.
Yeah.
Okay, and then apart from this, we do use S3 bucket. Okay, if I'll open my S3 bucket, if I'll go to the properties and scroll down, here I can see something called static website hosting. In order to host our static websites, what we have used previously?
Apache and Nginx.
Apache and Nginx. So you can still use S3 bucket to host your static website. Okay, you can use S3 bucket to host your static website. This is used only for static websites. Okay, so what I will do is, let me first create one more bucket. Create bucket, North Virginia. Always try to add some numeric values because this is something which will make your bucket unique. Static website, I think someone has already used, but 0509 something, I don't think so anyone has used. They might have used, but still I have a higher chances of getting created. Okay, so ACL is enabled. I don't want to block all the public access for now. I don't want versioning because this is only for testing. Default encryptions, let it be default, and click on create bucket. My bucket has been created successfully. Okay, now I want to host my static website. So just go to properties, scroll down. Here you can see something called static website hosting. So select edit, enable. Once you click on enable, here you can see host a static website. Okay, scroll down, and then here you can see two different files. One is index document and one is error document. This is optional. And we can also configure redirection rules. So what is redirection, what is path prefix and all, we'll try to figure it out in the load balancer sessions. Okay, so for now, understand, we can deploy one static website in our S3 bucket. So where you can implement or upload one index document. So it can be any name. It can be either index.html or whatever name you want to call, or you want to write to your object, you can configure. So in my case, I'm using index.html. And then we have something called error document. Means, for example, always remember one thing, that whenever your application is not accessible to the end users, it should at least throw some error. Means we have a lot of time, we have seen that this website in maintenance, please try again after some time. Yes or no? Did we have, I mean, have you seen that issues or messages in our daily life while accessing some applications or some websites
Yes.
for our credit cards or for our banking applications? We'll see that messages that this is in maintenance. Please try after so and so time period. They will try to provide one maintenance window that we called as error document, because that will help the user to know that okay, this website is updating. We can access after 1 o'clock. That's the one of the best practice what we need to do. If you haven't kept any error document and if your application is not accessible, then the user will not able to understand what is wrong with this. So we should always indicate the user that this is what happening. It will take so much time. That is part of your production releases. Okay, so now I will just try to create one more file with the same name, error.html. So I have configured two files, index.html, error.html. Scroll down and click on save changes. Okay, so what we have did, we have enabled the S3 website hosting, and I have configured two names, index.html and one error.html. So now let me try to create two different objects with the same name. Okay, this is my index.html what I have created, where it is displaying one welcome message. Website is in maintenance by after 1 p.m. This is my error.html. This name should be the same name what we have configured while enabling our options. Okay, now we have one more, sorry, cat error. I've created two different HTML files. Okay, so what I will do is I will just go to my bucket, objects, upload object, add files. In desktop we have index.html. And then let me add one more file, that is error.html. So what I have did, I have uploaded two different files to my S3 bucket. Let me make this public because we don't have any ACL. Okay, so this is public now. So now I want to access my website. I don't want to access this object. If you want to access this object, you can just click here, copy the URL and paste. But in my case, I want to access my website. So go to properties. If you scroll down, then you can see one URL. This URL is related to your S3 static website hosting. So just copy and hit in browser. Welcome to Techie Horizon 07. This is how you can host your website. Even if you refresh, you will see the same pages because it will only redirect to the error.html if this index.html is not available. Means if my S3 bucket is unable to find this document or this HTML page, then only this will redirect to the error.html. For example, let me just go to these objects and delete my index.html. Delete. Deleted the object. Now we don't have any index.html. We have only one error.html. So when I'll refresh this page, what will happen? My S3 bucket first it will check for index.html. Since it is not available, it will understand that it should redirect to the error message. Refresh. See, website is in maintenance. Try after 1 p.m. This is how we can host our static websites. For example, now again, if I have uploaded my index.html, upload. And if I'll refresh this now, this is still the same message because of the permission issues. Okay, let me just make this as public. Okay, now if I'll refresh this, then you can see welcome to Techie Horizon 07. Okay, this is how you can host your S3 websites as well. So what are our different use cases to use S3? One is to store VPC flow logs. We have hosted one static website. This is what you are going to talk in interviews. Okay, so we have used S3 to host static websites. We have used S3 to store VPC flow logs. We have stored our S3 as a remote backends. What is remote backend? That part, we still have a lot of time for it. Clear?
Somewhere we can only upload objects and files, or we can upload folders also.
You can upload, tar files you can upload. Okay, so you can create folders and you can try to upload.
Again, we cannot untar the file in S3.
You cannot untar. Try to upload some directories and see what is happening.
Okay, let me try.
Okay, try whatever is possible, guys. This is the only time where you need to do all the errors. Once you got placed for any project, then you cannot really delete the buckets and you cannot test over their accounts. Okay, so whatever you are thinking that you need to check this, try to make mistakes and try to learn from that mistakes. Okay, now, so how much size of file I can upload in my S3 bucket? Means here if you'll see the size is 41 KB, 29 KB, this is allowing. If the size is of 1 GB, file size is of 1 GB, so how to upload? If my object size is of 1 GB, so how to upload?
You have to compress the file and then upload.
After compressing, it is around 800 MB. How to upload a file with a large size? This will be asked in interviews for sure. For example, you have one file, okay, not leave it about 1 GB and all. For example, you have one file with 100 MB of size. So whether you will upload from GUI or from CLI. If you have one file of 100 MB of size, will you upload it from GUI, graphical user interface, or from command line interface?
CLI.
CLI. So always it is recommended to upload large amount of objects via CLI only. The performance for CLI will be pretty good compared to that of graphical user interface. That's one thing what you need to remember. And how to upload a file of 1 GB of size, that we need to investigate. Means we need to break in smaller sections. So we have one concept in S3 where we can try to break our objects. Means we are trying to upload in terms of partitions. Okay, that's two things, and we need to investigate on cross-region application. Means the bucket data should be automatically copied. These are the three things what you need to work for. Okay, if you got stuck with anything, let me know, then we can discuss on that. but as part of your task, you need to investigate on this. I will be pasting your task for today. Okay. I think I'm pretty much good for now. So we'll meet again tomorrow. If you have anything, let me know, or else we are good to wind up this call. Let me stop.